I am reading a fascinating survey that highlights what, in my opinion, is the true divide that is in our country, and it's called Two Americas. So, this survey was released on Friday, and it's by the Committee to Unleash Prosperity, and they surveyed two different groups of people. The first group they called elites, and the second group was ordinary Americans. So the group of elites had very strict criteria. So they had to have at least one postgraduate degree, they had to make over $150,000 annually, and they had to live in a high density urban residence. The other group was just a random sample of 1,000 registered ordinary voters. And they looked at 5 key results. So listen to this. Financial well being, 74% of the elites believe that they are better off financially now than they were when Joe Biden entered the White House. When you look at ordinary America, that number is only 20%. Individual freedom. Elites are 3 times more likely than all Americans to say there is too much individual freedom in the country. Nearly 60% of all elite college graduates hold this view. 77% of elites are in favor of rationing energy, gas, and meat to combat climate change. Among all Americans, 63% oppose. So it's the exact opposite. This one gets even more interesting though, because they even go into the category of super elite. That means you graduated from one of the most prestigious Ivy League, the Harvards, the Columbias, whatever the super prestigious Ivy League schools are. That's where you graduated. Among those, 90% are in favor of rationing. Government trust. 70% of elites express having confidence in the government and its ability to do the right thing, compared to only 35% of regular Americans. Political engagement. Elites talk about politics more frequently than the average American. Nearly 30% talk about politics daily or almost daily, compared to just 90% of voters. Now, this is worrisome because obviously when you're going into the voting booth, very different things are very real to you. And I've said it for a while now. I think one of the biggest divides in our country, which is what they don't want you to know, is it's a class divide. It's this kind of divide. It's the fact that we are getting more and more divided that way, as you see. And what you have is separate groups of Americans that are living completely separate lives. And it's usually our elites, that come on television and tell us how we should be voting. This immediately makes me think of Kevin Rogers and what he said at the most recent summit of the World Economic Forum, the WEF, in Davos. So he is the CEO of the Heritage Foundation. They invited him to speak on a panel. Ironically, the panel was what to do what to do under a Republican election, whatever. It was about democracy. This is what he said.
President, it's laughable that you would, or anyone would describe Davos as protecting liberal democracy. It's standing up for it. It's equally laughable to use the word dictatorship at Davos and aim that at President Trump. In fact, I think that's absurd. But I'm going to step aside from that constructive criticism and instead answer your question. Yep. And I'm going to be substantive here. President Trump, if he's the next president, for that matter, I think whoever the next conservative president is going to take on the power of the elites, which I mentioned earlier. But the thing that I want to drive home here, the very reason that I'm here at Davos, is to explain to many people in this room and who are watching, with all due respect, nothing personal, but that you're part of the problem. Political elites tell the average people on 3 or 4 or 5 issues that the reality is X, when in fact reality is Y.
I'm surprised he was invited, but he was, and I'm glad he went. He was asked, why did you go? And he said, hey, I wouldn't have gone by myself, and anytime you get the opportunity to speak truth to power, you should take it. But the things that he lists off are almost similar to the things I told you about earlier. So he lists off immigration. You guys sit here and say that open borders are okay. They're a wonderful thing. If you were to ask the majority of Americans, they would say, no, that's not true. They rob us of our American life, our American dream, and it's not even humane for the people that are coming over. When you have people coming over in mass numbers, how is that a good thing? Yet they'll tell you it is good. Public safety. They'll say what? There's nothing wrong with public safety. Everything's great. We love soft on crime prosecutors. What are you talking about? I can't see the crime from my behind my secured gate over here and my security detail. Although if you ask the majority of people that live in high crime, low income areas, not even that, it's spilling out to the suburbs because now these rings are attacking nice middle class, upper middle class neighborhoods. They would say, no, crime is a problem. In fact, we want strict on crime policies. And then the solutions that they offer for climate change, like the rationing we were talking about earlier, they think those solutions are totally fine. In fact, they're overwhelmingly in favor of it, as we read earlier. Don't mean to repeat myself. But the majority of people, they agree that we should be concerned about the climate, right? But they disagree on the solutions provided. The majority of people think the solutions are far worse and far more harmful and will take more lives than just letting the climate go. And if you go to an impoverished country where a lot of the pollution is coming from, they're worried about eating and putting food on the table. Energy is also one of the things that gets the majority of people out of poverty. So there you have it. That is the separation with what this unelected elite class thinks, and how that is so much more different than how the average American thinks. I want to leave you with one more thing. It was actually Kevin Rogers that said it. This is a quote from what is his name? Javier Milei. I don't even think I'm saying it correctly. He's the new president of Argentina. He was also invited to speak at the World Economic Forum, and he also said truth to power. But as you can see, they have their own way of thinking. So even Kevin said after this visit, did you change any minds? No, they were just really confused that someone would think differently than them. Anyway, this is a quote from Javier Milei. And it is, I do not lead sheep. I empower lions. I make lions. That is a good leader. A good leader is somebody who listens to the will of the people, who follows the will of the people, and who doesn't want to lead sheep. He wants a self-sufficient, strong people that they lead. That's when you know you have a good leader. Someone that empowers, someone that inspires, someone that, hey, we have this, but this is what it could be. This is what we could do. And this is the future that we're going to have. But more and more, our progressive elites are telling us, deal with it. You must sacrifice. You must do this. We all must make sacrifices. I don't think it's working. Anyway, that was the video. Thank you for watching.